at 3 p.m. But due to this constant fight with the regulator that people have to be engaged here in Russia because of this psychopathic intent on behalf of Western fifth column that is sabotaging Russia from within. They are constantly blocking everything they possibly can, right? They are destroying businesses of people, livelihoods of people, everything they touch. These freaking animals, man, right? And therefore, unfortunately, for the last 30 minutes, I'm struggling to find a VPN, to find anything that will allow me to uh, launch this live stream. My apologies for technical issues, but as you can understand, this has nothing to do with me. That's these criminal elements in the Russian government that basically are sabotaging Russian people, Russian society from within, and the Russian state from within. That's who should be addressed and dealt. And hopefully, everybody who is engaged in this crime against people will be punished severely. These motherfucking animals, man, right? Sorry for my French, dear friends, but this is not okay, man. This is not okay what these motherfucking animals are doing. That being said, and I'm not quite sure if Kremlin understands that their country is being sabotaged from within, right? They are clearly criminals that are pushing these anti-people policies, anti-societal policies, right? And I'm not quite sure these old people that are in charge of Russia, at least formally, truly understand how damaging all this is for the society and the country. But I'm a bit emotional, dear friends, because this is clearly not normal, man. That some motherfucking animal somewhere, corrupt animal, is destroying what I'm trying to build for the last 4 years, right? It's just crazy, man. And I'm doing nothing wrong, right? I have a program, sir, and I'm trying to present pro-Russian point of view to society from all over the world. I'm not doing anything bad, isn't it? And I'm being harmed with this sabotage that certain government officials clearly are engaged, and they have to be punished. Those criminals, man, and hopefully will be punished. My apologies for being a little emotional, but you can understand, man. You can understand. If you were here in Russia, you will understand. And if you are planning to come to Russia, by the way, make sure you have working VPNs, like 10 of them, because these criminals that are blocking everything probably have blocked all the VPNs that you already have. So you have to search some others. That's being said now. My apologies once again for being emotional and delayed due to these criminals in the Russian government. Well, let's talk about news now. Let's talk about news. As always, I will react on the questions or the comments or anything that will come from support platforms, so Super Chat on Rumble or through PayPal or Boosty, by the way, as I always do. And now let's go through some news. So hopefully, I will stay connected. I don't know. Internet might be cut anytime. By the way, that's the environment that we have to work and live and do something, man. Which is crazy. I mean, these are criminals that somehow end up in our state institutions are sabotaging Russia and are embarrassing Russia on the world scale, man. Unbelievable. Anyways, let's talk about news now. And I want to start from positive news. I wanted to start from positive news, but yet again, because of some motherfucking animals, right? I had to start from this emotional rant because they are cutting connection of the people of Russia with the rest of the world. But nevertheless, I prepared program to start from something positive, and the Russian armed forces liberated Bakshevka settlement in the Kharkov region. Further progress of the Russian militaries on the line of contact. Dear friends, in my previous updates, I mentioned there a major progress of the Russian armed forces in the Kharkov direction when Belgorod settlement was liberated. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the Russian armed forces. This is a very, very important milestone for the is a tremendous breakthrough, of course, and now Russian troops liberated this Bakshevka settlement area also, and as I said in previous updates, man, these pincers are closing. These pincers are closing, and soon Ukrainian terrorists and Nazis that are located in this most northern eastern corner of Kharkov region going to end up either encirclement if they stay there, or going to be eliminated completely by advancing Russian forces. Also, I want to share with you this information that Russian military struck a Black Sea automobile assembly plant and port terminal. This happened in Chernomorsk later evening yesterday. During the nighttime, Russian armed forces were continuing elimination of logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, including in the Nikolaev port area and throughout the Black Sea. Number of not just portal infrastructure was struck, but also 7 vessels, 7 dry cargo vessels were also eliminated, according to Russian media report that is based on Defense Ministry. And throughout the day, Russian troops continue further intensify this maritime blockade on the western back Nazi and the terrorist regime of Zelensky. And literally like hour and a half ago, I saw this report that and the footage itself that I published on my Telegram channel, where you can see additional vessels being struck by Russian forces in the ports of Nikolaev, in Nikolaev port, by the way. Also, during the day, there was a Russian missile strikes on a military, on a logistical infrastructure and deployment point of Kiev regime's forces in Odessa. Right now, you can see on your screen aftermath of these attacks. In addition to that, Russian armed forces struck yesterday, by the way, 4 more vessels, and I think this also needs to be acknowledged. So maritime blockade is definitely becoming a major headache for Western backers of the Kiev regime, because it is clear that at least for now, Russian militaries and security services did not receive from Kremlin order to back down or to ease the pressure, right? So therefore, it is becoming practically impossible to smuggle anything through ports into Kiev-controlled territory, and of course that will create a literally logistical nightmare for NATO countries to redirect all their entire volume of goods that they were, entire volume of weapons, munition, and everything else that they were transferring through naval, through maritime means, through ground logistical lines now, right, through Romania and Poland. So of course, eventually, these significant difficulties that NATO countries will face to transfer more weapons, more munition, more everything to Kiev regime will have a tremendous impact, on our battle capabilities of Kiev regime, and hopefully Russian troops will manage to advance even more rapidly on a zero line in a zone of special military operation. And on topic of this maritime blockade, I will just once again highlight that past weekend Russian militaries finally took out of action a major strategical bridge, basically, of Kiev regime that connects ports on the Danube River to inland of Ukraine. And of course, this is a massive strike on logistical capabilities of Kiev regime. This Soviet-era built bridge was damaged on both ends. On one end, bridge collapsed actually, and on the other end, the damage is severe, and God knows how long it will take for Kiev regime to and its NATO backers to restore the capabilities of this infrastructure. No wonder Western propaganda is beginning now to complain, not just complain, but become hysterical that, well, Kiev regime is entering extremely difficult situation. Also, winter is coming, and the Kiev regime fears their toughest test since the Russian full-scale invasion, as they call it. It's not full-scale invasion. If Russia is not even conducting war, by the way, it's still special military operation, because wars are not conducted in a way as Russia does, right? Wars are done differently, and unfortunately, Russian militaries and security services did not receive green light from leadership of Russia to actually conduct a war. Special military operation limits capabilities of Russian militaries, and everybody understands that. But Western propaganda, and they're gonna come up with some shit, isn't it? Because that's all they do, really. I mean, they are anything but journalists, and so, well, it is. The West is becoming hysterical due to latest increase in Russian pressure on the Kyiv regime, and winter is definitely coming, and it's not going to be easy for the Kyiv regime, that's for sure. But first and foremost, Zelensky and his henchmen, they have to survive until winter. These Western propaganda means are forgetting that it's just matter of one order from Russian president, one order, and in about 24 hours, Russian military and security services can eliminate, literally, physically eliminate entire leadership of this Nazi and the terrorist regime in Ukraine. So it is not necessarily that obvious that Zelensky will actually live to see what's going to happen in a winter, or anybody from his inner circle. But winter itself in Ukraine gonna be difficult, obviously, for many reasons. There is a logistical nightmare that this Nazi regime is facing now there, and also in terms of energy capabilities. Politico, for example, come up with the article that Russian army strikes have destroyed or damaged more than 80% of Ukraine's power generation capacity, and the last 20% probably is nuclear power plants that never been struck by Russian forces. Unlike the regime and its NATO backers that are conducting regular attacks on Russian nuclear power plants, Russia never ever conducted a strike on nuclear power plants that are located on Kyiv-controlled territory. And of course, a lack of power generation, but power generating capabilities will have a massive impact. And I'm not sure neighboring countries, neighboring in the West, neighboring countries of Ukraine will be able to cover for the Kyiv regime and provide Kyiv regime with enough electricity during the winter, let's say, to that will to basically fulfill the needs that Kyiv regime might have. And I remind you, dear friends, that main directions from where Kyiv regime is receiving electricity, if needed, is Slovakia and Hungary. Also, Russian armed forces, of course, were conducting long-range attacks, not just on the portal infrastructure, not just on the vessels that were delivering certain goods to enhance military capabilities of Kyiv regime, but in the Dnipropetrovsk region, for example, massive warehouses were destroyed completely, warehouses that were used by Kyiv regime for military purposes, and also in Chernigov region, yet another warehouse of Nova Pochta, logistical entity that is actively militarized by Kyiv regime, was destroyed. Although because entire NATO, by the way, basically is engaged in a war against Russian Federation and their proxies, of course, they still have capabilities to launch long-range attacks on the Russian Federation, to be engaged in a terrorist activity against Russian people. And that's exactly what they do. Past night, Russian Air Defense Forces intercepted 320 drones, NATO-made drones, by the way, or drones made by NATO member states, then transferred on the Kyiv-controlled territory and launched to strike deep into Russia. These drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Bryansk, Volgograd, Voronezh, Kaluga, Kursk, Leningrad, Lipetsk, Nizhny Novgorod, Oryol, Pskov, Rostov, Ryazan, Smolensk, 12 Ural regions, Moscow region, and Crimea. And as it is case practically always, there were more casualties among Russian civilians, more death, more injuries due to these long-range attacks, because 320 drones were intercepted, as the Russian Defense Ministry reported, but number of drones did manage to bypass air defenses, and 5 people, for example, were killed in the Moscow region during this nighttime drone attack, and there are another 10 people were injured. This happened in Chekhov, a district of the Moscow region. Another terrorist attack conducted by Kiev regime. And well, reports are that in Chekhov, Wildberries warehouse was struck industrial area also. And well, unfortunately, this long-range attack is going to continue until we will restore deterrent, and it is anybody's guess if Russian militaries and securities will ever receive green light from current president of Russia to go ahead and actually restore that deterrent with the collective rest, which is absolutely necessary, right? I have some doubts that Putin will ever authorize that. But anyways, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We will find out, isn't it? But you remember, dear friends, in past days I was mentioning in my updates that NATO reconnaissance planes were circulating over the Gulf of Finland, over the Baltic NATO member states, and I said straight away, this is clear indicator that NATO countries are planning attacks on Leningrad region, St. Petersburg. That's exactly what happened, and the defense ministry in its update stated that drones were intercepted over the Leningrad region. Also, Wildberries was struck in the Leningrad region in the Krasny Bor area, and this information was confirmed by Wildberries itself. Wildberries is, of course, Russian e-commerce company that has nothing to do with the military activities, but because it was a giant when it comes to e-commerce, right, in retail and stuff. I guess leadership of UK, British intelligence, they come up with the idea that, well, if they will eliminate Wildberries, if they will take down Wildberries, that will harm tens of thousands of businesses, small and medium businesses on Russian territory, millions of people in Russia, and probably their calculation was that this will somehow shake up their will of people here in Russia to go all the way and defeat the enemy. And they made a fundamental error in the calculation. I mean, British ruling class and intelligence and whoever stands with them, right? Because if anything, these attacks, these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation, only angers the Russian people and increases the demand to actually go all the way and eliminate every and all our enemies. They will get opposite result, brother. They will get opposite result, actually, with these attacks on Russian civilians and the Russian civilian infrastructure. Also, Wildberries warehouse was targeted in a Tver region. It's like obsession now. Looks like elimination of Wildberries is a sort of obsession on behalf of a British ruling class and the British intelligence, which clearly indicates that those freaking animals are actually rabid, man. Right? I don't think psychiatrists can help those animals, right? Because they are done, man. They are done. They eliminated like, I don't know, dozen of these Wildberries warehouses by now in past weeks of these constant attacks. And what they achieve? Anything? No, nothing, right? They make people here in Russia even more angry, right, and determined to go and eliminate all their enemies of the Russian people. And that includes actually British intelligence, British militaries, and British ruling class too. Let's be clear on that. And if anything, political pressure will only increase on the Kremlin to go ahead and do exactly that. Just saying. There was also a strike on an oil depot in the Samara region, in the Sizran. And, well, given the images that are coming from the area, clearly certain damage was done to this oil refinery, but the Russian engineers already proved, dear friends, isn't it, in past several months since this beginning of this large-scale constant attacks on energy infrastructure. This terror campaign, new wave of terror campaign that Brits come up with, British leadership and intelligence come up with, and Kiev then blame it to be their idea. It's a British idea. It's UK that stands behind this terror campaign against Russian people. And what I want to say is that Russian engineers already proved that they are well capable of eliminating most of the damage on these oil refineries in a relatively is actually improving, and I have a news about that topic difference, which is that, for example, Gazprom Neft, one of the giants, one of the energy majors here in Russia, lifted any limits on fuel cells at the gas stations in certain regions. And many companies in many regions, including majors, by the way, introduced some sort of limitations several weeks ago, right, when there was a peak of these long-range attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, and well, due to rapid work of Russian engineers, when many oil refineries are going back to work in relatively short time, also due to establishment of alternative routes of supplies of gasoline. Well, there is no more need in at least 11 regions now for Gazprom Neft company to have any limitations in place. So situation is getting better and better and better as time goes by. Unfortunately, there are still, of course, number of regions, including Crimea, where there are some difficulties, in some cases serious difficulties when it comes to energy supply. But of course, Russian Federation will deal with that situation, if not sabotaged from within. Unfortunately, Western ruling class has a looks like very powerful fifth column on Russian territory, including in ruling elites, right? And I have no doubts, by the way, that this Western-controlled fifth column is sabotaging Russian people, Russian society, Russian Federation, state from within. And this is definitely something that needs to be addressed there, and hopefully will be addressed there until it's too late, man. Until it's too late, because clearly it's just too freaking obvious that country is being sabotaged from within by fifth column, right? So I don't know, man. Putin have to pay attention to this stuff. He have to take some strict measures to eliminate that fifth column, to eliminate, including high-ranking officials that are engaged in a sabotage. And the counterintelligence clearly has to its work better, because this fifth column only exists because counterintelligence is freaking failing, right? They are failing, man. And it's a shame. They should do their job better. This is unacceptable. But anyways, as I mentioned, the situation on energy sector is becoming better and better and better, and will be completely resolved. Just little time is needed. Also, there are reports, dear friends, that Kiev regime, with the assistance of NATO, targeted a Turkish vessel in the Black Sea that was carrying certain agricultural produce to to Russia, right? And the vessel received some significant damage. Let me give you details. So, Cameroon flagged commercial cargo ship carrying fresh fruits and vegetables was attacked by unmanned aerial vehicles in the Black Sea. Incident occurred on the Nadezhda ship, which was on a route from a Turkish port of Samsun to Novorossiysk. TASS reports the vessel was delivering a shipment of agricultural produce for crew members, and it might was under the flag of Cameroon or whatever, but it was a Turkish vessel, basically, right? According to reports that I see. 4 crew members were injured in the strike. Three of whom of those wounded sailors are known to be Turkish citizens, and well, Turkey actually made statement about it and demanded actions to be taken after Turkish-owned ship struck in the Black Sea during this drone attack. Reuters report about it. Ankara demands guarantees for safe navigation after 4 crew members were seriously injured in the strike near Novorossiysk. And I think there is a probability, by the way, there is a probability that Turkey is engaged in some dodgy operation, false flag operation, together with London and the Ukrainian proxies, right? To basically start pushing for a narrative that Russia should ease pressure on the Kiev regime. Russia should ease maritime blockade or remove maritime blockade completely. And because Turkey could not go after Moscow straight away they choose maybe these tactics. Ukraine targeted Turkish vessel, and now Ankara is becoming hysterical. As if this is the first instance, or the second, or the third, when Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists targeted commercial vessels in the Black Sea or in the Azov Sea. I did not hear anything from Ankara when dozens and dozens of commercial vessels were struck in Azov Sea, literally in past like 2 months' time. I did not hear anything from Ankara, so why would not they shut the fuck up, right? And learn better where their freaking place is. These freaking animals, man, right? I'm talking about Turkish leadership, of course. If there were adequate people, they would voice their concerns when Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists began terrorizing commercial vessels on Azov Sea, when dozens of ships were struck, and dozens of crew members were injured, and their lives being threatened. But somehow Ankara did not notice that. But now when Russian maritime their Western backers, Ankara suddenly woke up and is demanding something. They can demand nothing, definitely nothing from Russia. If they want to demand anything from Ukrainian Nazis, they are free to do so. But this is clearly some dodgy stuff that is going on. By the way, Turkey is a British proxy. We should always keep that in mind. And the British proxy for the last, quite a number of centuries, actually, right? They had their wars, for sure, but the Turkish elite is a British prostitutes, basically, right? That's a historical pattern when it comes to Turkey. Their elites are always British sluts, period. TASS news agency is also reporting that, well, unfortunately, as a result of this terror campaign that London is leading against Russian people, yesterday there was a attack, intentional direct attack on a beach side in the Gelendzhik area, Krasnodar Krai. Ukrainian/NATO drones directly targeted people, civilians on that beach. I shared video of that attack on my Telegram channel, Twitter X page. I cannot show you video on YouTube because or Rumble because YouTube will block my channel probably straight away, right? I don't know, but unfortunately, as a result of that attack, dozens of people were injured. Several people were killed. That was initial reports, and now we have an update on that death toll has increased up to 7, and unfortunately, 4 of those killed are children. It was the families, right? On the vacation, families were enjoying themselves on the seaside, and the Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists and their British masters decided that they're gonna kill them, and they did. And right now on your screen you can see that exact moment that was depicted on a video. By the way, in a circle, it's a drone there, and you can see. I mean, it struck beach directly. This is a explosion point, and there's a lot of people there, and unfortunately casualty numbers are increasing, and I'm afraid there is a high risk that maybe some of the injured that are in difficult condition, extremely hard condition, might not make it. Yet another terrorist attack committed by London against Russian people while hiding behind their Ukrainian proxies. Meanwhile, Deputy Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, Mikhail Galuzin, stated that Russia has not yet heard any constructive ideas from the West regarding the Ukraine. He noted that Western political circles sometimes resort to completely unacceptable dialogue, issuing ultimatums, being condescending, and adopting a harsh tone, hoping to influence Russia through pressure. And Galuzin is basically saying what I have said quite a number of times before in my updates, that Western ruling class is so emboldened with the impunity with which they are killing Russian citizens and are destroying Russian destroying infrastructure on the Russian territory, that they are now completely out of touch with reality, I think. This impunity poisoned their mind on absolute scales, and I'm not sure they are even capable to understand how out of touch with reality they are. And I was saying in my previous updates that no matter how much Putin, president of Russia, Putin, would want to find some political solution, uh, he might not be able to do so because of this level of of the level how much Western elites become emboldened, right? And I said they might attempt to come up with their extreme level of demands, with their ultimatums with Moscow. And of course, Putin will struggle to accept that. Putin will struggle to accept it because, whatever he's going to sign up for, then he have to sell that as a victory to Russian people. And if he signs up for ultimatum, for sort of capitulation, no matter how hard he will try, he will not be able to sell it as a great victory, isn't it? And that will, of course, jeopardize, his presidency. That will jeopardize his role in a history, right? He would not go down in history in the way he would like then. And so clearly, Galuzin's statement indicates that my reading of the big picture was correct. And Putin will struggle to find to have a dialogue with Western elites now. Only way he can influence the situation, if he wants to, is to bring those Western elites to the ground, right? To bring them to their senses. And how Putin gonna be able to do that? There is a one way and one way only, which is deterrent to be restored with the collective West, and this may be done only with retaliatory strikes on NATO member states that are engaged directly in the mass killing of the Russian citizens and the mass destruction of infrastructure on the Russian territory. And that is that. Either Putin have to agree on that, or he's basically in a corner. He's being cornered, right? Uh, by his own restraint policy and by Western ruling class that is extremely emboldened and totally out of touch with reality, exactly because of the Putin's restraint policy. So we will find out what Putin gonna do, right? He is clearly cornered now. No matter how effective Russian militaries are on the battlefield, or in regards to, or in terms of long-range strikes on military capabilities of Kiev regime, we all understand perfectly well that most of their long-range strike means that are used against Russian Federation are coming from the Western countries, coming from NATO member states. And to stop this constant flow of long-range strike means we have to restore deterrent with the collective West. Period. So it's up to Putin now what he's going to do, right? We will find out. We will find out. But it is sad to see that Russian president being cornered by his own restraint, by his own restraint policy, and then by Western ruling class, who become truly extremely emboldened while observing this restraint that Moscow is demonstrating, no matter what. It's sad to see all this happening, but Putin has no one to blame but himself for being in the situation that he is right now. Anyways, let's continue with some other news. And Russian leadership lost quite a lot of time while hoping that Anchorage summit that took place last year will bring some positive outcomes, right? You remember all these talks about Anchorage spirit and this and that, and agreements being reached, and there will be some progress. All of it was a nonsense. All of it ended up to be total freaking nonsense. Washington never took anything seriously. he was mocking summit openly, directly, while talking to journalists, literally about months ago or something, isn't it? And and now I guess very few people, even in Putin's inner circle, have that illusions still that they have some agreement with Washington. They don't. But maybe some people still are delusional. You never know with those. You never know. But Washington, meanwhile, is not hesitating to make it clear where they stand, right? And we have this report, for example, that the United States imposed sanctions, new sanctions, by the way, against the Russian Defense Ministry structures, including Russian militaries, by the way. Russian ground forces being sanctioned. Decision was made about a week ago on July 24th, 2026. That's where Washington stands. That's where Washington stands. And I struggle to understand how it can be that Russian high-ranking officials, including Russian president and his closest inner circle, were that delusional to believe that they had agreement in Anchorage with the American side, with the side that are well known to be deceptive, right? Well known to be incapable of honoring any agreements, written or verbal. But somehow Russian leadership ended up in that trap again, right? And we remember for 12 to 14 months there was a constant this freaking noise, Anchorage summit, Anchorage spirit, blah 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 blah, and then the rest of the freaking nonsense, right? Well, okay, that's the one Vancouver, or not Vancouver, but Anchorage spirit for you. US is escalating whenever they have opportunity, by the way, and they don't care, they don't hesitate, they don't take us seriously. And why would they, man? Why would they take us seriously when they are killing our people day in, day out, and we are doing nothing to revenge, to strike back? Why would they take us seriously, man? Honestly, why would anybody take us seriously when our people being killed in mass by these NATO member states, big and small, from giants like US to chihuahuas like Lithuania and Estonia and Latvia, and we never retaliated on any of them, man. And why should anybody expect that we're gonna be taken seriously after that? Come on, man. Are we that delusional, really? Meanwhile, former head of Kiev regime's general staff and current ambassador to UK, Valery Zaluzhny, for whatever reasons, decided that he's gonna speak to Ukraine's so-called ambassadors, something that is well known for everybody, anyways. And that something is that Ukraine never gonna join NATO. So former AFU commander-in-chief and the current ambassador to the UK, Valery Zaluzhny, told the ambassadors meeting in Kiev that Ukraine will never become a NATO member, despite over the decade of promises. And then, quote, I know NATO very well. For about 12 years, I personally worked on getting us to adopt NATO standards, and every year I heard fairy tales that we are about to join NATO any day now. Unfortunately, we will never join it, he said, right? And well, what a surprise. What a surprise that this banal stuff, when this banal stuff is being said, it does make headlines, man. It's crazy. This world is done, man. Right? This is so banal stuff. But nevertheless, this does make headlines because of the propaganda, because of the level of indoctrination of the total in this total nonsense, right? Of people inside Ukraine and in the Western world, especially, when very many from the societies and also from the political or military elites actually believe that Ukraine gonna become a NATO member state, which was a freaking nonsense always. And I was saying this like since forever, that Ukraine never gonna join NATO, Ukraine never gonna join EU. Period, man. This is not a topic for discussion. This is all freaking nonsense. Cannot be done. Cannot be done, and that's it. But you know, as I said, man, propaganda does some crazy stuff, man, and people influenced by propaganda are beginning to believe in all sorts of garbage, all sorts of nonsense and the crap, and including Ukraine joining NATO. And if you conduct some social studies in many Western countries, probably majority will say, yeah, Ukraine, of course, they will join NATO, you know. If you conduct study in Ukraine, maybe Ukraine citizens also will say that, yeah, of course, I mean, we've been promised. Yeah, okay, man. Continue to believe in that. Unbelievable. But it is interesting why Zaluzhny is coming out with this topic now. Uh, is London beginning to panic in regards to Zelensky's stability? Is London is afraid that Zelensky might be toppled very rapidly, and Brussels and Paris might gain some more influence in Kiev controlled territory? Something is going on, man. Something is going on because Zaluzhny is a chain dog, by the way, of London, right? This despicable creature, who is strongly linked with the Ukrainian Nazis, by the way, this despicable creature is a chain dog, chain rabid dog of British Secret Services, MI6. That's all it is, man. And no one should take this creature as anything else but a chain rabid dog. So London is panicking. London is panicking clearly, and well, I mentioned this ambassador topic, isn't it? And Zelensky fired Ukraine's ambassador into US, Olga Stefanishina, and okay, I mean, this was known for quite some time now that Stefanishina will be removed there, and probably other female will replace her, and female because according to reports, when she was even before she was appointed, and she was relatively recently appointed, isn't it, as her ambassador, if I remember correctly. But before she was appointed, there was speculations on the internet, isn't it, that these anti-Russian elements in the Trump inner circle that were lobbying the regime were recommending Zelensky to send a relatively good-looking female as an ambassador because that will increase chances that that female will gain access to Trump. And Zelensky chose this female, right? And basically, I think just mark my words, by the way, I think her same principle going to be adopted in regards to next Ukraine's ambassador also, most likely. And there's Zelensky going to send another female. So basically, he is sending prostitutes, not diplomats, but prostitutes that somehow have to gain access to Trump. I mean, does Trump need Ukrainian prostitutes or not? That's a whole different question, by the way, right? Given the mental health of Trump and also physical health of Trump. But yes, that's the level, man. That's the level that is adopted in the West. You know, that diplomatic field is being used for basically human trafficking now and for prostitution. That's it, man. Yeah, nothing to add, really. And Zelensky, I mentioned, isn't it, yesterday, I think, this information, that Zelensky also appointed the former defense minister Umerov as head of foreign intelligence. And just a reminder, dear friends, that Umerov is an FBI informant. So London maybe has reasons actually to panic because on one side Paris and Brussels are active and are pushing for Fyodorov, former defense minister in Ukraine, pushing Fyodorov to become a relevant figure, right? And there are speculations that Europe, continental Europe, considers Fyodorov to be a replacement of Zelensky. On the other side, US, Washington is increasing its presence or its grip on Kiev's regime in ways it can, right? And well, FBI freaking informant has been appointed as a high-ranking official now as a head of Secret Service, right? Militarized institution. And London is being kind of sidelined, right? You might get sense that in the processes in the last that took place in the last 2 3 months, London is being kind of sidelined, and that might actually cause some elements in the British ruling class, British intelligence, to go hysterical. You know, just saying. Meanwhile, Middle East, of course, Middle East difference. Hopefully, internet is working okay, man. This is not gonna be my best show, obviously, because of the start of it, when I struggled with the connection for a freaking half an hour, if not more. But and that influenced obviously entire program. But anyways, let's continue. And well, um, there are no new negotiations in the planning, by the way, between Washington and the U.S., according to CBS, despite all the claims that Trump makes day in, day out, right? And he literally, like a few days ago, claimed that Iran begged for mercy, and that's why Trump stopped targeting Iran, and they're going to be negotiations and all that kind of stuff, right? It's all nonsense, lies. Also, Trump yesterday, while talking to journalists, said this phrase: "We had a conflict with Venezuela that worked out very well. We have a conflict with Iran, and that is working out very well." That's what Trump says. That Iranian war with Iran is also working out very well. And okay, man, that's I don't even think there is any need to comment this statement any further. It's perfect in every possible sense. Clearly demonstrates mental state of Trump, and I think U.S. ruling class perfectly well. Also, yesterday, in the first half of the day, Trump stated that U.S. is in full control of Strait of Hormuz, and in the second half of the day, he stated that Strait of Hormuz might be open tomorrow. And so that tomorrow is today, right? Because he was making these statements yesterday, and last time I checked, Strait was closed for everyone unless they had the permission from Iran to move around. So once again, White House is being transformed into freaking circus, and Washington itself is being transformed into a bloody circus. And at this point, I don't think anything that American politicians say worth much attention, really, or definitely should not be taken seriously, for sure. Clowns, man. That's bloody clowns. That's all it is, isn't it? And as I said, there, Iran is in full control of Strait of Hormuz and has no intention to give this control up. But Strait, nevertheless, is not really completely shut down, because there are reports, by the way, that even though export of oil from Persian Gulf has dropped significantly, up to 20% of its pre-war levels, still 3 to 5 million barrels of oil are leaving Persian Gulf through Hormuz Strait on daily basis. And well, this is good, isn't it? This is something good, because for sure energy market needs this oil. Although obviously all the tankers that are managing to bypass or go through the Strait of Hormuz are reports that Iran and Oman in the talks in regards to control over the Strait of Hormuz. You know, there is a northern route that goes through Iranian waters and the southern route that goes through Omani waters. And the New York Times reports that allegedly Muscat and Tehran are quite close to come up with a solution in regards to this topic. Under the proposed agreement, Gulf-bound ships would use Iran-controlled channel. Departing ships would use a channel near the Oman. Service fees would be split equally between Tehran and Muscat. So, you know, I don't know about Western ruling class, but I guess Tehran and Muscat, Oman and Iran, no, they're gonna be quite okay because they're gonna split. They're gonna split their income between them through 50-50. So therefore, does it really matter, sir, which ships will go which way? They're all gonna pay, and this money gonna be split between the two countries, right? For services and security and the rest. So Iran going to maintain control over the strait, and Oman, despite all the pressure from the West, Oman looks like he's on the same page with Iran. And I reminded you, friends, that Oman considers Iran to be friendly, and we should keep in mind that Omani royalties only exist, and Omani kingdom is only exists basically because of the Iran. Otherwise, rebels from Yemen would take them out decades ago, when they were quite close to do so. So, of course, Muscat thinks like they own Iran, their existence, and despite all the pressure that they might come up under the Western ruling class, I don't think they will go ever against Iran, actually. They would not. Meanwhile, Russian foreign minister had a phone conversation with his colleague from Qatar, and obviously sides discussed the situation in the Middle East. And I think Russian foreign minister will also have or his deputies will also have contacts with their diplomats from other GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, first and foremost. And Moscow will definitely will have to try to once again make it clear for these countries, for leadership of these countries, that if they go against Iran openly, that will be beginning of the end for their states, for their countries, right? Monarchies or whatever they are. Because that will be true, man. We have to tell them that you mess around and you're gonna find out, man. That's true. At this point, UAE and the Saudis have done so much wrong, man. So much wrong that in case of UAE, I'm quite confident that this Emirate is not going to survive as a single entity or united entity as we know it right now. UAE is totally destined for a full-scale disintegration. And about Saudis, I mean, they are on the edge. They are on the edge. If they continue to mess around a bit more, they are finished. Literally, man. They're going to disappear from political map as a political entity, right? What will emerge there instead, we will see, right? Some parts will become under control of some parts. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole different story, and I don't really care, man. What will happen to Saudi Arabia? But they are risking big time. Also, dear friends, we have this report that U.S. Missile stockpiles drowned by Iran war. According to Reuters sources, Pentagon used up almost the entire supply of its most advanced ATACMS and PRSM long-range missiles after 5 months of war with Iran. The shortage sparks fears U.S. may have fewer options in a potential future conflict. And well, I was saying this for I don't know since forever now, and somehow I'm a single human being, and Reuters is a multi-million dollar company, right? And they just come up with this stuff. Seriously, man. How long am I saying that a major issue that US is facing is lack of stockpiles of these long-range weapons because they are running out of the stuff, right? It was so obvious, man, and that was the reason why I was saying from the beginning, basically, that at some point they're gonna draw European NATO member states into this war to bring in more long-range weaponry, and Europe can deploy about at least I think 55,000 long-range missiles, which is quite a lot, obviously, but not that much to have to turn the tide. But of course, they can do some tremendous damage, by the way, no doubts about it. And they will be bring in. I mean, the Western ruling class is going to bring in Europe. In next several months, we will find out how, because I think next phase of the war will begun um, late autumn, early winter. So it is about time Western ruling class display what their game plan is, right? How they gonna draw in European countries. It might be false flag, but U.S. And other Western countries are engaged right now is a deception, because in reality, only thing that actually matters is preparations of the Western ruling class and regimes that they control, including U.S. regime, for next phase of the war. Everything else is irrelevant and just a deception. Meanwhile, Iran knows perfectly well what is all right. I think they know quite well, perfectly well, maybe even right, what is going on, and that's the reason why Iran's special forces, as I already mentioned a couple of times before, are becoming quite active to hunt down all sorts of terrorist groups throughout the region, including in Iraqi Kurdistan, that potentially might be and probably will be used by US and Israel against the Iranian people. And we have this report that Iran's 23rd Takawara Special Forces Brigade carried out 14 missions inside the Iraqi Kurdistan, including Erbil and Salu Maniach in the past 4 months, eliminating various Kurdish separatist leaders. The brigade successfully returned to the base after each mission, suffering zero casualties, according to Iranian army spokesman. So, well, Iran knows what to expect. They are preparing, by the way. They are preparing, and I said before, and I'm standing on this point, that grounding total disaster for the U.S. militaries, for everybody who will join U.S. militaries, but especially for U.S. militaries, because they are not ready, man. They are not ready for what is going to happen to them, man. Iranians are literally gonna hunt them freaking down as rabid animals, and someone have to tell this to Americans, man. And whoever can resign should resign, man. Whoever can leave the freaking army should leave the army, because they have nothing to do in Iran, right? They are not protecting American people while killing Iranian people, right? In this war of choice that Washington is engaged in. So I might only hope that all the decent human beings in U.S. militaries that are potentially going to be sent in this war will just freaking resign. Better resign now than be engaged in the freaking war crimes and then die like a rabid freaking animal. You know, because Iranians gonna hunt them down, man. Americans are not ready. They don't freaking know what actual war is. They will learn, man. Whoever will not resign, not leave their army, and will end up on Iranian territory, they will learn hard way, and probably that will be last lesson for them because they're gonna stay on Iranian soil most likely forever in Iranian soil, to be more precise. Meanwhile, we have I mentioned this yesterday. By the way, remember yesterday I mentioned that Iranian foreign ministry once again stated that they don't believe that attack Ukrainian slash NATO slash Israeli attack on Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea that happened about 2 weeks ago was a mistake or accident, as Kiev regime described, and I think Iran is keeping this topic relevant for a reason. Also, for a reason, yesterday it has become clear that, according to RGC, Iran was ready to strike 3 points in Ukraine as a retaliatory measure for attack on Iranian vessels. And these attacks did not happen only because Sibiga, so-called foreign minister of Ukraine, called Iranian foreign minister Basarabchi and tried to de-escalate. But nevertheless, Iran is very clear that they don't buy into this stuff, that it was an accident or something like that. And therefore, I think there is a reason why Iran is not letting this topic go. There is a reason for that, and as I said yesterday, dear friends, such an attack could not be done, I think, without direct involvement of Azerbaijani ruling class, this Aliyev clan, Azerbaijani secret services, and their militaries, and because Azerbaijan is a British proxy with their massive ties with their Israel, with Turkey. Of course, there is a probability, clear probability, that in 3, 5, 7, maybe 10 years from now, Moscow and Tehran will have to resolve this issue of proxies, right, in between the two countries, and those proxies will be eliminated one way or another. And this does not mean that Azerbaijan will cease to exist as a quasi-state, but it does mean that Azerbaijan will transform big time, will lose certain territories big time, and Russia and Iran will end up having a land border. Although, maybe Iranian Azerbaijanis will say, we're going to talk to our brothers in Azerbaijan, and we're going to make sure that they will be happy to join Iran. And so maybe Azerbaijan's significant portion of it will actually become Iran. Some major changes gonna happen, by the way. Some major changes gonna happen in the region for sure, and these changes definitely will be more visible, or trajectory towards these changes will be more visible, and things will accelerate significantly after Western ruling class will lose in this war against Iran and the Middle East. And they're gonna lose, man. As time goes by, I'm more and more confident that they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose even if they will deploy nuclear weapons, I think. Even nukes not gonna help them now. And if it comes to nukes, it's only US, by the way. Despite all the speculations on the internet, I don't believe Israel will deploy nukes. US will deploy nukes. Not Israel, because for Israel, that will be suicidal, absolutely suicidal. So, and they're never gonna do this. But US, whole different story. They will. But even in that case, Western ruling class will lose. I'm quite confident about it. Also, by the way, when it comes to US ruling class, US state institutions that are effed up, NBC News reported that FBI agents stolen nearly 1 million in cryptocurrency from accounts allegedly linked to Russia. And well, according to investigation, the special agent Patrick Yarok, who had access to keys to cryptocurrency wallets because FBI was spying on the people, right? Why on earth FBI had the keys to crypto accounts? Why on earth FBI had the keys to crypto accounts? Maybe because they are spying on people, on everybody, basically, right? American store. Of course they do. And so this criminal, FBI special agent Patrick Yarok, who had access to Bureau's internal systems, found the keys to cryptocurrency wallets and transferred the funds to his own account. He made up to 12 transfers, totaling approximately $925,000. And I wanted to share this information with you, dear friends, because many of you might have a currencies, crypto wallets, and you might think it's safe and secure, and this might not be the case because secret services, by the way, especially Western secret services, they are spying on people all over the world. They are trying to spy on everybody, literally on everybody. And Snowden, all the information that was released to public by Snowden, Edward Snowden, confirms that, isn't it? And that's why I am personally not surprised to hear this news, because U.S. Secret Services, they spy. They spy on U.S. citizens. They spy on citizens of other countries. Everybody, right? That's why they are building these freaking data centers, right, all over the U.S. Because they have to keep this data somewhere. It's a tremendous volume of information, right? It's not just because of AI, by the way. It's because of freaking data that they steal and collect on every day. It's terabyte. It's not even in terabytes. It's like God knows what other terminology is, high and high and higher there. Every day they are storing like billion terabytes of information, probably have to store somewhere. They need data centers, right? Soon you would not be able to walk around US without hearing this freaking noise of of data centers, right? So be careful, dear friends. Be careful because yeah, Big Brother is watching, and who knows, when you think you only you know keys to your accounts, yeah, this might not be the case, and there are a bunch of freaking criminals in FBI or CIA or NSA might take your money whenever they want. That's the US for you today. Meanwhile, Russian Pacific Fleet has begun large-scale exercises to protect the Far East borders. This was announced by the Ministry of Defense. Exercises involved over 13,000 servicemen, approximately 60 vessels, and the submarines, 60 warships and submarines, as well as about 30 aircraft, helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicle systems. Exercises are taking place in the waters of Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk, as well as in the northwestern part of the Pacific Ocean. During the exercises, the military will practice the use of precision weapons, modern weapons, and military equipment, as well as joint operations of the ship's aviation and coastal units. Okay, good news, by the way, right? But well, in order to be perceived in this world as a major superpower, by the way, exercises are clearly not enough, as statements are not enough, and the warnings. We have to restore the terms with the collective West, because otherwise, I doubt any one country is taking us seriously, man. As long as the Western ruling class and the NATO member states that they control are killing Russian citizens and bombing Russia, destroying infrastructure in Russia with total impunity, no one gonna take us seriously, man. That's the unpleasant but true. That's the true, man. Right? And these exercises, therefore, I personally see as just a total freaking waste of money and the time. I mean, okay, at least the sailors will have something to remember, isn't it? And hopefully there will be no accidents, right? Because during the large exercises, there's always some accidents. Hopefully there are gonna be no accidents, and okay, sailors, militaries will have some memories. Good, good, by the way. But until we will restore the terms with the collective West, man, demonstration of the flag not gonna work. Also interesting news. Also interesting news that U.S. Oil exports in July fell to lowest level in 8 months, according to data. So oil exports from the United States fell to their lowest level in 8 months in July, reaching 3.66 million barrels per day, according to Reuters. According to the agency, the decline occurred after a temporary agreement between the United States and Iran in June, which allowed for increased supplies of Middle Eastern oil through the Strait of Hormuz, reducing demand for American crude on the global market. And dear friends, one should get confused quite easy while seeing this type of news. US is exporting oil, but US is also importing a lot of oil. Daily production of oil in US is about 16 million, right, barrels. And their daily use of oil in US is about 20 million. So therefore, no matter how hard American ruling class will try to pretend that they are major or number one, bigger than ever, bigger than everybody ever, players on an energy market, they are actually not that impressive, right? Not that impressive, man, because they still cannot even provide their own selves with the necessary volumes of oil. So they are importing a lot, and they are selling also a lot, right? Because they control a lot of oil fields throughout the world, American energy companies, right? But something to keep in mind is, of course, also that US is not and will never be a reliable partner to anybody, by the way, especially in terms of energy sector, right? And after all, there is a reason why a number of public figures in Europe are beginning to wake up and start talking about threats that extreme dependence on U.S. Energy sector creates for the Europe, and that creates a threat because U.S. may not be there with Europeans if need be, right? As U.S. was not there for Belgium in the very same July, when only country that provided Belgium with LNG was, you guessed, which one? Russia. I know, dear friends, many of you will say, no, why on earth Russia is giving them energy, man? Because these are hostile countries towards you. And I get the point, man. I'm asking same question, but decisions are not dependent on our opinions, isn't it? So therefore, I'm just reporting that in July, Belgium was unable to purchase freaking LNG anywhere, including in US, and they had to address Moscow for this, and they actually received 400,000 tons. 400,000 tons of LNG was transferred from Russia to Belgium. So all these European countries, by the way, that are now actually heavily dependent on US in terms of energy security are in a deep freaking trouble, man, because I can clearly see the picture when France or Germany or I don't know, man, Netherlands are asking for a two, let's say, or three deliveries of LNG on these massive LNG carriers. At the same time, and they had agreement in the place, right? And maybe they already even paid something or full amount, so they think like they are okay, right? They have contract for that. At the same time, these Americans are sitting there and receiving call from I don't know, Malaysia, and some Malaysian guys are telling them that, you know what, these Netherlands or French, they're gonna pay you how much? This volume, right? Okay, we pay you 10% more, or maybe 15% more, and if we are in a good mood, maybe even 20% more. So bring it here. And you think what Americans gonna do, man? You think what American energy company is gonna do? Lose money just because what? They never honored anything in their lives, man. Right? If American elites are known for anything, is that they have no morale, they have no principles. So of course they will sell that energy that's supposed to go to somewhere in Europe to Malaysians or Indonesians or I don't know, South Koreans, Japanese, right? So Europe is cooked, man. Europe is freaking cooked. And so cooked, it's hard to even imagine the level, by the way, because Belgium, country which hosts most anti-Russian Western entities ever, NATO and the EU, Belgium is freaking begging Russia for a freaking LNG, man, because US energy companies probably say, you know what, Belgium, just get lost, right? Those Asians gonna pay more, man. So just don't talk to me. That's what America is gonna do, man, and that is that. Europeans deserve this, man. They deserve it. They had their everything for success, man, everything, and they destroyed that everything, right? While choosing to become enemies of Russian people. And I'm talking about European elites, obviously, not ordinary people, man. I have to clarify every time, isn't it? To make sure that no one gonna misunderstood me on something. So that's how it is, man. This is crazy, isn't it? This information alone demonstrates how insane these times are, man. That we live in. Okay, that's that. When it comes to new segment, dear friends, I will go through recommendations now, and there were some recommendations from Christopher, and uh, I think, and there was also super chatter. I can see there was also super chat, by the way. And if I may, I will go through these super chats. I will go through these recommendations, and that is it for now. I'm still, hungry, man. Can you imagine? This situation with the internet connection spoiled the entire program and the entire day, man. For me, unbelievable, man. Clearly, some sabotage is going on inside the country, man. West has a massive and unfortunately, tragically, very influential. It looks like influential. It looks like freaking fifth column, man. Um, and so, dear friends, let's go for recommendations first. Let's go for recommendations first. I'm a bit surprised that there were no technical issues with the internet, at least during the news segment. Hopefully, it will still this way. And let's continue now with the recommendations. So thank you very much, Christopher, for your recommendations and support through PayPal. And you have always interesting recommendations. So many members of our community Later, Berlin taken another risk. Where is a course against Russia could lead where its course against Russia could lead Krapivnik and Thomas. The video can be seen on YouTube channel called Stanislav Krapivnik. And dear friends, you all are familiar, isn't it, with Stanislav Krapivnik? He's a worker. I joined Christopher in a recommendation. I definitely recommend also this channel. Always interesting, always interesting. And whenever I see Stanislav Krapivnik being invited on different channels, by the way, and on many of them I'm subscribed, I always watch because it's a good way, by the way, to check my stand, right? To check how correct my understanding is of the situation, and when he, in many cases, shares similar takes, right? Then I understand that, yeah, okay, um, my reading of the big picture is still relevant. So it's always good, by the way, to be self-critical and to constantly check yourself, right? Constantly. It's necessary, even, especially in this business, right? Also, Christopher is recommending Steve Jeremy. If I were Putin, I'd call Trump first. Oh, this video can be seen on YouTube channel called Glenn Deason Clips. He now has 48.4k subs on that channel. Thank you for sharing. And if I was Putin, I would definitely don't call Trump. But it is interesting to see what arguments Steve Jeremy will have. So would be interesting for sure. Also, true behind in engineering, Ceuta refugee crisis is not what you think. The podcast can be seen on YouTube channel, The Serious Reporter. Channel only has 21.4k. So, dear friends, you can check out the channel, and the topic is definitely important and interesting and relevant. And I also think that it was a dodgy stuff, by the way. This situation with Spanish exclave was totally engineered by obviously Morocco and by its Israeli and their US allies, Mossad, CIA, 100%, by the way. No doubts about it. No doubts about it. But additional information, I think, can be seen, heard on this channel, The Serious Reporter. So must be interesting. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing. And there are more recommendations. Although before I go through these more recommendations, let me before that highlight there was a one super chat from Scooby on Rumble, and if I may, I will highlight this super chat first. Looks like I might not be able to do so because I'm not quite sure if I'm even online. Okay, it should be visible now. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting digital fragmentation. Countries all over the world are banning hardware, platforms, internet access in the name of security. And yes, I mean, world is being transferred into digital concentration camp, isn't it? That's what is going on. Global elites are building right before our eyes digital freaking concentration camp, and they want to cut connection between different societies, between the societies, right, from different countries, different cultures, divide and conquer. I mean, this is nothing new, isn't it? Divide and conquer. That's what they do, man. And when it comes to Russia, by the way, I definitely think people that stand behind these blocks and bannings and stuff are fifth column. I think they are CIA assets, MI6 assets. Everybody who pushes these bans here in Russia are fifth column, I think. No matter who they are, on which level they are, either in security services or in government, they all are fifth column. They are traitors of Russian people. 100%. I have no doubts about it, by the way, because they are sabotaging country from within. So their actions speak very loud. These are fifth column. You remember, Scooby, you was asking once where this fifth column is. You got one example right there with these bannings, because they don't increase no security to nobody with these bans. All they do is cut people's ability to communicate, right? That's all. And they are creating anger inside the society. They are generating resistance inside the society. Why they are doing it? Why these people are pushing society to become angry towards government? This is pure sabotage, man. This is pure sabotage. What are people that are behind these bans, blogs and stuff are doing. And also, Scooby is commenting right here. No, this is not an example. It's a conjecture. You want to say that that's basically confirmation of the practice that is happening in the world? I'm not quite sure I fully understood what you said there, but I think this is fifth column. This is sabotage of Russian society and country from within, and this is down by fifth column, because it has nothing to do with the Russian security or security of the Russian people. On initial stages, when they began banning everything, including cutting access to internet, you know what was the propaganda of those groups? That somehow this will shut down ability of Kiev regime and its backers to launch drones over the Russian territory and control drones. Well, have we seen any decline in the drone attacks on the Russian Federation, or it's actually opposite? More drones being launched to strike Russia. More drones being launched to strike Russia, actually. The numbers don't lie, isn't it? It never was about security of Russia or the Russian people. It was always about creating division between people, president of the country, right? Putin is being sabotaged personally by these people, man. Maybe Putin don't understand that. Maybe he don't thinks that much about it, because yet again he lives in his own bubble, right? Maybe he actually considers all those creatures that are behind these bannings to be actual patriots and stuff, but in reality he being played, man. He personally being sabotaged. That's how it is, together with the Russian society and the Russian Federation. I know what Stalin would do with these ones, right? But we are living in a different times, isn't it? But these are traitors, 100% traitors. If I was a head of counterintelligence, I would prove it that, man, in a very short time. You are not presenting the evidence that this is our fifth column, Levan. Evidence. Since when logic is no longer relevant, Scooby? Don't tell me that Russian society is benefiting any way, shape, or form with these bans. Are we benefiting ordinary people? Don't tell me Russian Federation is benefiting anyway from these bans. No. These bans create, you are not here, Scooby, so you don't know how frustrated people are with these bans and blogs and stuff, especially young generation. When I say this is a sabotage, I actually mean that, because I live here and I'm seeing the reactions of the people, right? It's not just me, man. It's majority that is active on internet. So it's a sabotage. You don't have to be genius to realize that. And when it comes to evidences, well, sorry, but I'm not a head of counterintelligence service. If I was, I would present those evidences. But I'm just citizen journalist, you see. Also, let's continue with the recommendations. Another recommendations from Christopher. Once again, thank you, Christopher, for your recommendations and assistance. And let's go through it. Do they want to destroy Germany? This video can be seen on YouTube channel Cameron McGregor. He only has 10.9k subs. Dear friends, Christopher recommends to take a look at this channel. This is first time I've heard about Cameron McGregor channel. I know McGregor, Colonel McGregor, right? U.S. military expert. Maybe this is linked some ways, maybe not. I don't know. Thank you for sharing. Also, another recommendation, Richard Wolff, why Europe leaders provoke war with Russia. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Glenn Deason. He has 568k subs. Yeah, this is main channel of Glenn Deason, main English language channel of Glenn Deason. And thank you for sharing, Christopher. And I also joined the recommendation 100%. Richard Wolff is one of the brightest minds out there, I will argue, right? Maybe some people will agree with some of his takes, some people disagree, but it hardly can be argued that Richard Wolff is one of the brightest minds of our time. 100%, by the way. Whenever he's engaged in a conversation, it is always interesting, always. And when it comes to Glenn Deason and his channel, well, Glenn Deason does great job, by the way, of course. And I'm a regular listener of his shows, regular guest as a viewer, by the way, on his channel. So therefore, absolutely joining recommendation from Christopher. And also another recommendation, major Ukrainian warehouse blaze in Dnipropetrovsk. This video can be seen on just a sec, dear friends. On YouTube channel called Military Tube Today. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for this recommendation, Christopher. And there were more recommendations. Berlin takes another risk. Where is their course against Russia? Could the leader, Krapivnik and Thomas. This video can be seen. Oh, I think I already mentioned this. Oh, okay, sorry. I actually highlighted this. Okay. 3 tons of silence. Russia's FAB 3000 erases enemy positions in Zaporozhye. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called RYU Military. And dear friends, if you are interested in videos from their military zone of military operation, then you're gonna be impressed while seeing FAB 3000 strikes and aftermath. It's something enormous. Of course, I have seen quite a number of videos, by the way. It's truly devastating stuff, these FAB bombs, man. FAB 3000 is the biggest glide bomb that Russia has yet deployed on the battlefield. There are reports recently when one member of our community, Wayward, I believe, mentioned Fab 9000, and I think that was the first time when I actually think about it, that there is a Fab 9000, right? That was a sort of a news for me. Nothing extraordinary, maybe, right? But nevertheless, it was a nothing extraordinary in terms of, well, it's doable, right? It's not like nuclear weapon, but if Fab 3000 can do some enormous damage, then you can imagine what Fab 9000 can, right? And these numbers indicate weight of these bombs, and most of it is explosive material, of course, high explosive material. Also, another recommendation: Russian satellites are active now. China opposes Israel link in Spain crisis. This video can be seen on YouTube channel GNF. He is now on 28.5k subs. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing. And another recommendation: Russian black box apartment not in Moscow. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Traveling with Russell. He has 199k subs now, and Russian apartment. Dear friends, if you are planning to visit Russia or move Russia, migrate to Russia, then you definitely might find interesting these channels that are about this. What is the name, by the way? This. What is their specific name when you are trying to buy market apartment or something? If you want to buy house, this might be for sure interesting. Thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing. Traveling with Russell, that is the name of their channel. I forgot their name, word, by the way, specific word. Another recommendation: Russia unveils powerful new LNG freighter locomotive engine with 4,500 kilometer range. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts, 30.8 thousand K. LNG freight locomotive to transfer LNG through locomotive. Through railway must be interesting. Must be interesting to take a look at this. Altitude Addicts. Altitude Addicts. That's the name of their channel. Thank you, Christopher, for recommendation. Another one: watch Portugal's advanced recon drone fail to Russia's Lis interceptor. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts. Also, Altitude Addicts. That's how you pronounce it, isn't it? Altitude Addicts. Okay, and thank you for recommendation. That it is so unfortunate that so many NATO member states are engaged in this war against Russian people. I mean, these drones are coming from all over the collective West, from US, from Canada, from Portugal, Spain, UK, Denmark, Belgium, France, Germany, you name it. They are building all over the West these drones, right? And they're components for the long-range missiles, and they are using against us, and they will continue to do so unless we will restore deterrent with the collective West. Because why would they stop? Why would they stop? Ruling class of these countries. So Altitude Addicts, that's the name of the channel, where you can see that a Portuguese drone LMS 901 versus AN2MSX, which aircraft will shape Russia's regional aviation. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts, and well, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be definitely interesting video, dear friends. Definitely there is active work done now to build and mass produce short-range planes for domestic civilian aviation. And one there is several competitors, right? And I guess main ones are this LMS 901, and another one is AN2MSX. AN2 already says that it's probably it's gonna be somewhat, at least in the design, similar to legendary AN2, I suppose. And the LMS 901 probably is that plane with is one rotor plane. I forgot it has also name, a specific one, but I forgot that. Anyways, you can see this video, dear friends, on Altitude Addicts channel. Must be interesting for sure. And if I will also highlight these recommendations. Hello everyone, here is the video that you might like to watch or share. First production standard MS-21 makes maiden tester. This can be seen on YouTube channel Altitude Addicts. I'm going to subscribe to this channel. They clearly have interesting content. So thank you for recommending, Christopher. And yes, yesterday and day before I reported, isn't it, about MS-21, Russian passenger airliner. That is basically that talker. It's a first flight. This is completely domestic, not just domestically built on domestic know-how and equipment, but this is a first serial domestically built, right? So it's entire logistical line now is in place, right? To launch mass production as soon as plane will finalize certification, and more than half is already being done in terms of certification. So hopefully, sometime in the future, Russian aerospace industry, thanks to planes like MS-21, Superjetter, and some others, right, will manage to, compete, and the newer planes will manage to compete with their Boeing and Airbus. Maybe in 10, 15, 20 years time from now, this will be possible. Also, Christopher is recommending on the very same channel, Altitude Addicts, to take a look at their video. Russia's Sberbank leaks MS-21 figures MTOV 85 tons. This video can be seen on YouTube channel Altitude Addicts. Thank you for sharing. And also recommendation 17 Russian soldiers breach Ukraine's most heavily fortified trench, 16-minute firefighter graphic image. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Murat San. And thank you for recommendation. I'm definitely going to take a look at the video. Thank you for sharing that. And dear friends, also these recommendations, why Russians no longer dream of the West. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Charles in Russian. In Russia, this Charles in Russia, I guess this channel has 54K subs, and well, many Russians never dreamed about West, but some did actually, some continue to do, and unfortunately, Russian ruling class has for quite a few centuries now this issue of having this unhealthy fixation on the West, which is unfortunate, right? Which is unfortunate because Western ruling class definitely uses this unhealthy fixation of some elements in Russian elites to basically jeopardize Russia itself, right? Through these individuals that can be easily manipulated due to their state of mind, let's say. Also, another recommendation from Christopher: entering no fuel zone in Russia, driving to Moscow, day 14. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Lisa, the Russian. She has 103K subs, so big channel, by the way, there. And well, dear friends, many of you probably wondering what's going on with the fuel in Russia. Even though I'm regularly reporting about this situation, including today, I reported that in certain regions, Gazprom Neft company, for example, Russian energy major, lifted any limitations on the fuel sales whatsoever, and situation is improving literally on daily basis, right? So situation is getting better, but it was never catastrophic throughout the Russia. Unfortunately, it was a Crimea that was facing extreme levels of difficulties, right, because of this long-range attacks of the regime. But Russian side already managed to significantly improve the situation in Crimea also. It's still a lot to be done, but it's better, way better now than it was on a peak, during the peak time, right? When this, due to this long-range attacks, Kiev regime did manage to cut that land bridge between Crimea and did not to cut, but to disrupt traffic significantly on that Novorossiya highway, basically on a land bridge that connects Crimea with mainland Russia. But since then, Russia has deployed a lot of mobile air defense forces in place, and the situation has improved significantly. It's overall still difficult, but much better than it was during that peak time. And when it comes to other parts of the Russia, I guess this channel, Lisa the Russian, is basically making series of videos about this fuel situation here in Russia, and you can check this out, and you can make up your mind on my Patreon and Boosty pages. By the way, yesterday this morning actually I published short video from which I made yesterday evening during the walk around Moscow, and members of our community on Patreon and Boosty can see that video, and they can judge if there is any shortage of cars on the streets, man. There is none, right? There is a lot of freaking cars. It's very busy, right? And they are, as I said, man, it's these long-range attacks on the Russian energy sector and the civilian infrastructure, of course, are harmful, creates difficulties, but it's not gonna, it will never, ever even become close to force Russia to do anything or Russian people to do anything. It does not work that way. So thank you very much, Christopher, for your support and attention, and for your recommendations through PayPal. And also there was another recommendation and several super chats from Scooby and Wayward. So let me get to those in a second. This is a recommendation from, internet connection is truly bad, man. That I'm struggling to upload image on StreamYard. You see? Okay, I can upload now. So thank you very much, Christopher, for another recommendation. Diplomacy is dead. Keter Klerenberg on Europe's madness, NATO expansion, and their path back to sanity. This video can be seen on YouTube channel, their Peacemonger. And dear friends, Christopher is recommending Peacemonger. Scooby Header, kind words about this channel. I'm subscribed to this channel, and even though I cannot check all the channels that I'm subscribed on daily basis, but definitely they do have interesting content too. So it's up to you to check out their channel and their video itself. So thank you very much, Christopher, for for sharing and for your support. Also, let me highlight this. Let me highlight this super chats also. Oh, it works, you see. So thank you very much, Scooby, for a second super chat and a $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, what do you think of Brian Borletik's perspective that our nations should take control of their information space? Um, it depends. I mean, this is serious, complex subject. It depends what you mean by take control. If you mean blockade, barricade yourself from the rest of the world and only allow your society to use only domestic platforms, then I don't think that's a good way. China does something like that. China has probably most effective firewall, as it called, right? But many Chinese people are still managing to be active on these international platforms, biggest ones, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and so on, right? So isolation is never a good thing, I think. Maybe it will be better way to talk to people, right? To talk to people, to educate people. Maybe governments, state institutions have to do their job better, right? And so foreign intelligence assets, foreign ruling class will fail, right, to brainwash your people. You do the good job. You, the government, right, state institutions, you be correct, right, explain, educate. And I'm strong believer that you would not be in need of block anything. You are blocking stuff because you failed. This is an indicator of the failure, not the strength. That's what I think. Compete, be competitive, right? So therefore, if I have not seen particular video when by Brian Berletic, who is a New Atlas, by the way, host of a New Atlas, one of the leading projects, I will argue, in alternative media for sure. And so if it's about barricading yourself from rest of the world, no, I think that's a mistake. Soviet Union did that, by the way. There was no internet at the time, but Soviet Union closed the borders, right? Even it was as difficult for Soviet people even to travel into Eastern Europe, believe it or not. And I don't think that made Soviet Union any stronger. It worked actually opposite way, right? Because lack of knowledge, lack of information, lack of access to objective information, and created this illusion about the West, right? Illusion that was based on information that West was pushing into Soviet Union through different propaganda means like radio freedom and that kind of garbage, right? So if you start isolating your society and yourself from the rest of the world, trust me, your enemies will find the ways how to leak little by little propaganda into your territory, and they will manage to poison your people with that propaganda, and your people, while being cut off from rest of the world, while being cut off from opportunity to check this information, step by step, but many people will start believing in that nonsense that your enemies will give them. This is all right. This is all historical. This already has happened. We have historical knowledge of it, right? How it's done. So we don't have to repeat these mistakes, I think. Banning and blocking, by the way, it's a demonstration. It's a sign of weakness. It's not sign of strength. It is what it is, right? And I'm quite sure, by the way, one of the reasons why Western ruling class might have quite a strong following in the China is that China built this firewall, right? And Western ruling class has unique opportunity to poison mind of the people in China with whatever nonsense they want, because they know many Chinese people will not bother to spend too much time to find the proper VPN or this or that to connect with the rest of the world and then check this all information, is it true or not? So therefore, Western ruling class will do to the Chinese, many Chinese people, what they did to Soviet people, certain groups of Soviet people during the Cold War. When, trust me, many people actually believed that Western world was about democracy and human rights and their kindness and that kind of stuff. When Western ruling class was never about it, never. But they poisoned people's mindset through Radio Svoboda, through other propaganda means, and there are certain groups actually start believing in that nonsense. I personally knew those people, right? Some of those people. And I was struggling to understand how on earth you being this brainwashed, right? But yeah, it works. This brainwashing works, and West is good at it, man. Western ruling class is good at it. That's why I'm saying whoever stands behind these bans and blocks here in Russia, they are sabotaging Russian Federation and Russian people and the state of Russia from within. It's counterproductive. Nothing good comes out of it, man. Nothing. And when it comes to domestic platforms, of course, we should try and build proper domestic platforms, right? Proper, good ones, by the way. Not like they did with the Max. They did this freaking Max, copied the Telegram, basically. That's what they did. Probably whoever stands behind the Max receives some freaking grants. I don't know what kind of money being invested in that, but I guess state funds were used in this project. And by the way, I have not seen a single citizen of Russia who will say Max is good. I don't know anybody who will honestly say Max is good. It's supposed to be alternative to Telegram. So how come that this Max is that bad, man? Right? They're trying to copy Telegram, and they can't even copy the Telegram proper way, man. You know? So if you want to build your infrastructure in this field of internet, and if you're gonna do it like with a hammer, like it's done in Russia, by the way, in regards to this Max platform, for example, you're gonna fail. It would not work, man, right? But if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna allow business to do the job, if you're gonna allow engineers to do the job, right? Because they know, in that case, you will have such successful projects as of Contactor, by the way, right? That Duro created, Duro brothers, right? Pavel Durov is actually not the brains behind the project. He is a promoter of the project. His brother is the brains, right? And they created the Telegram too. So if you allow actual specialists to do the job, by the way, right? And to compete with the Western projects, they will succeed. Contacte is succeeding, right? And it was a much better, by the way, when actually Durovs were in charge, right? Look, Telegram, by the way, has no competition in its segment, right? It's good, isn't it? And there are some other projects here, domestic projects, by the way, that are created by specialists, not by orders from their state institutions, right? And they are able to compete. So we have to have our infrastructure, but to succeed in that, states should allow actual professionals do the job and not mess around, right? There is a fields where states' involvement is necessary on the certain levels, and there are areas where state has to allow professionals do their job, right? And just monitor to make sure that everything works smoothly and no risks being created. Unfortunately, we are we are we don't know yet how to balance the things, right? And Russia has a quite a successful number of platforms actually here, isn't it? For example, Facebook is not that popular here in Russia. You know why? Vkontakte is more popular, and Vkontakte is actually better than Facebook, right? Many people will probably say that yeah, Vkontakte is better than Facebook in every possible way. So you see, it is possible to compete with the giants successfully. It's possible. It's doable. Also, Wayward is commenting. Thank you very much, Scooby, for highlighting important topics. Thank you. And also, Wayward is commenting. I want to ask her. Brian Barletic was talking about China's successful recovery of their first stage launch vehicle. They are catching up with the SpaceX. Where is Russia in this field? Well, Wayward, unfortunately, we are behind her. I don't want to say far behind, but we are behind in terms of reusable rockets. Yeah, US and China are way ahead. The US is, of course, leading the charge with the SpaceX Falcon 9 and now this super rocketer that they recently tested successfully, isn't it? So China did, yes, recently, a couple of weeks ago, conducted successful catch of its reusable rocket, first stage of the rocketer. Chinese went different way. If Falcon 9, while coming back, this first stage of Falcon 9, while coming back, lands on its legs, let's say, Chinese went other way, right? Chinese engineers decided that it's going to be more effective in terms of weight and many other things to if you catch through cables, right? There is a platform at the sea, there is a construction, right? And there is a cables, by the way. And when this rocket comes down, at some point from top of this, from top side of this first stage, these anchors come down that are catching their cables. Right, it's quite impressive, man. I was impressed when I see first time that video. I was impressed. I was thinking, wow, whoever come up with this idea definitely deserves some pay rise. Original idea, and it works. Looks like it works, isn't it? So China is catching up step by step with US in terms of this reusable rocketry, but we are quite behind her. If I remember correctly, we will have first tests around 2030. We will have first test around 2030, which is quite behind, isn't it? But we wasted so much time, by the way, right? And I was quite vocal about it in the past. So much time and effort was wasted on Angara rocket family. It might be very good family, very good rocket family, by the way, Angara. But future is on reusable rockets, right? So it would make more sense if instead of investing so much in Angara, Roscosmos would divert more finances, more investments, more engineers towards reusable rocketry. And in that case, maybe we would not be this behind of Americans or the Chinese. But we build this Angara. We have now this Angara project, which is classical rockets, right? Nothing reusable about them, and yeah. At least we still are in spacefaring nation, let's say, right? But by 2030, 2029, 2030, we will also have first tests of reusable rockets, hopefully successful ones, and by 2035, maybe we will have regular launches of reusable rockets. We will see. Also, Wayward is commenting, Brian mentioned that this is a critical field where their nation can launch their fastest satellites corner contention competition such as Starlink, and Russia's new Starlink equipment will dominate back on Earth. Um, of course, whichever country has this reusable rocketry, they will have an upper hand when it comes to number of launches that they can do. US is clearly dominating this field right now. China soon will catch up with the US, and as I said, by 2030, 2035, we're gonna join this field step by step. And when it comes to satellite internet, of course, this will give you upper hand in many fields. Capability to mass launch, right, rockets into space, because you can deliver a lot of satellites, you can deliver other goods, other heavy payload on an orbiter, maybe to build, I don't know, space station that will be used as a launch point for interplanetary flights, isn't it? So it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. So I agree with Brian. Absolutely. I mean, we have to catch up. We have to catch up in this field with Americans and Chinese too, by the way, because they are doing quite well in this direction. Right now, we are third. Right? Chinese are first. Americans are first, then Chinese, and then Russia among leading countries when it comes to space. And hopefully we will maintain position in top three, right? And hopefully in certain fields, right, we will be on the leading positions, because Soviet Union was a pioneer when it comes to space and space explorations. So we have to continue successfully that we have to be decent successors of Soviet engineers and Soviet school, and we will. Thank you very much, Wayward, for highlighting these topics. And there was also more. There was also more super chats from Scooby and Wayward. Let me highlight her. You see, internet is so bad connection that I struggle to upload images, man. And I mean, how many VPNs I have to buy? It's a paid subscriptions, isn't it, on these VPNs? And there is so many instances when I purchase the VPN, I pay for it, and then it turns out to be garbage. It does not work. And you don't really have a choice. You have to just experiment and hope that some of them will work. I mean, this is insanity, man. Thank you very much, Scooby, for another super chatter. Scooby is commenting, got a table of a typical fiscal multiple players from my AI here. What do you think of it regarding Russia? And wait, I have to then check. I have to check the link, right? And it does not opens on my. It just does not opens on my in my browser. And if I other maybe because Chrome has some issue with it. In order to open in Chrome, then I have to turn on another another VPN, by the way, right? On top of already one that is operating right now, and that might block live stream itself. Or maybe I should try, man. I don't know. Let me try. No, no, no. It will. I mean, let me try. I will try other way. Let's see what will come out of it. I'm gonna open it on Chrome, where I have also extension. On Yandex, I can't do it because the live stream will go down straight away. But let's see if it will work on Chrome, and it does not shows me anything. I don't see anything, Scooby. I can make a screenshot of it right now. It does not opens anything. I don't know why. You see, something has opened now. Something has opened now. So, okay. Sorry, dear friends, but I want to understand what's going on there. And well, you see, I can try and upload image now. I mean, I don't even know. Should I highlight this, Scooby? Your question is, got a table of typical fiscal multipliers from my AI here. What do you think of it regarding Russia? Should I highlight when it comes to unemployment benefits, 1.2 to uh, honestly, I probably will need a little more explanations because I don't understand what I'm looking at right now. When it comes to unemployment benefits, here in Russia there is a system. If you are registered on a employment agency, federal employment agency data, then you will, I believe, you will get assistance with their employment, and until you will find job, or there will be some financial support for you, but it's not going to be something serious, really. I have never taken any money from that institution, so therefore I don't know exactly, but I don't think they pay significant amount for unemployment. And after all, unemployment rate here in Russia is extremely low. It's less than 2%, right? Last numbers that I remember. Food stamps, when it comes to food stamps, there is no such a thing as a food stamps here in Russia. I mean, maybe certain groups of people are receiving some social aid from different humanitarian organizations, different NGOs and stuff, but on a state level, is there anything on a state level that gives people food or some food stamps? Талоны. Есть такая хрень, чтобы вот талоны дают, а ты на талоны пойдешь в магазин и что-то купишь, по-моему? Нет, да, ничего такого. Ну, может, организации какие-то кому-то помогают там в частном порядке или там что-то. But same time, there is a lot of... окей. Окей, как называется? There is one nuance there. Of course, there is a lot of state programs that support people, right? A lot of programs that are financed by federal government to support families with many kids, right? 3 and more kids, young families with the first kid, second kid. There is many programs that are in place to stimulate birth rate, family creation, and all of it, right? So there are a lot of stuff that government actually finances in terms of assistance to the people. But we don't really have anything similar to what in US is, right? These food stamps and stuff. There is nothing like that. When you have a little baby, there is a program when you will get her, when you are young parents, maybe this is in place. This program is in place to teach young parents what is needed, how to do, until they will learn something. They will get her some specific special baby foods from where? Maybe from kids, может, из детской поликлиники. There is certain institution that helps her. And yes, there is financial support for the kids. That's for kids, right? That's a different topic. Scooby is talking about food stamps. There is no such a thing as a food stamps. Но я тоже не слышал. Also, infrastructure 0.5. I mean, defense spending 0. Tax cuts. Yeah, I mean, yet again, I don't understand what to make of it. Scooby, I will need a bit more explanations because I'm not financier, isn't it? Topics that I had something to say. I said but then also Wayward is commenting. Brian means not allowing Western social media platforms to use their monopoly to propagandize their target countries, just like the US does around the world. And yet again, I mean, I understand that, and all the countries that should actually try and build their own infrastructure in the field of social media. But same time, I think Western propaganda will fail. Western propaganda through this Facebook and YouTube and all the rest will fail if government does better job. Because if people know better, and it's up to you how informed your people are. If they know better, they would not fail. Majority will never fail to propaganda of the hostile sides or propaganda of any side, really. So I think best way is not to shut down everything in a fear that, well, they're gonna propagandize my people and do some rebellion against me or something. No, you should not be scared. You should be on the right side of history, and you should be effective in educating the people. So when people know better, they will act better. So I don't fear no Facebooks, no YouTubes, no freaking nothing, right? Because we are on right side of history. Russia is on right side of history, so why should we afraid? And if some people don't know, if some people needs to be educated a little better to understand a little better what's going on, then let's be focused on that. You know, let's do a better job in terms of informing people, right? Because that's what should be done. I mean, if you are going around and blocking everything, that's a lazy approach, and in long run, that will only benefit again your enemies, but not your society, not your country. I think, because of course your enemies will use any tools. If you ban their platforms, they will use that against you because they will find ways how to infiltrate your society, and then they will drop by drop poison their minds with their information that your people will have no way to check because they've been cut off from their sources of the information, right? So they will benefit from that, your enemies. And if you leave these platforms alone, right? And but if you don't do the job properly, if you don't inform your society, if you leave too many questions unanswered, then that will be used against you also. So I think only right way to deal with the situation is to do job properly. You know, just to be on the right side of history and do job properly, and don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. Western ruling class is not more clever than we are, man. They are not better than us in intellectual capabilities or any other capabilities. They are actually much worse than us, right? And we need some little more confidence, actually, right? Why only if we are afraid that they're gonna poison our people's mind? No, no, man. We should have more trust into people too, man, right? After all, Russian people are one of the most educated people in this world, correct? So that's what I will say. So thank you for sharing, Wayward, and Scooby. And there was also three more super chats from Wayward. Let me react on it, dear friends. So Wayward is commenting. Thank you, Wayward, for your super chats and the donations through Rumble. And Wayward is commenting. Western social media is very powerful. They routinely convince people to work and vote against their interests. I do understand your argument. True, is a delicate balance, and I mean, yes, we have to balance it out. Obviously, I know social media can be powerful. Propaganda is a powerful tool, obviously, to brainwash the people. But yet again, you have tools also, right, to protect your people from the propaganda. And what is the best tool? What is the best way? Truth. Just tell the truth to people. Have a trust in your people, right? Have a trust in your people. And yet again, man, Russian people are one of the most educated people in the world, objectively speaking. You know, maybe modern Russian school is not necessarily on the same level as a Soviet era school, which was best in the world, by the way, 100% best in the world. But still, Russian school is one of the best in the world, right? University education is on top of the game also. We have a lot of top level universities. So people are very well educated and very well capable of seeing what is the good and what is the evil, what is the truth and what is the not. But they need their information for that. And this information, this basic information that is necessary to be able to analyze the situation well enough, has to come from our media, from our government, right? Because they know, government knows what's up, right? And but if they fail in public relations, then of course that will create some gaps, some vacuum that can be filled by propaganda from the West. But as long as you are not leaving no gaps, Western ruling class would have no space to pact with the propaganda, you see? So yet again, we should not be afraid. We should be vigilant, obviously, but yet again, we should just do a better job. Banning and blocking everything left and right, this is not the way. This is demonstration. This is a global scale demonstration of weakness. That's what it is. And plus, this is a pure sabotage of society and the country. I mean, that's how it is, really. You know. Also, we were just commenting, everyone should simply think of Western social media platforms as a CIA outfit. Absolutely. Absolutely. They work with their government, such as Facebook, Google, Microsoft. Absolutely, I agree with you, Wayward. Everyone should understand that while you are using these global platforms, you should know these platforms are weaponized by Western ruling class, right? And you can only be you can, first and foremost, you should always doubt any information that you see on these platforms, right? You should always have questions. You should take anything with a pinch of salt. That's the time we are living in, right? We should not trust anything and anybody without questioning, including myself, by the way. None of you should take anything I say for face value automatically, right? Check, always check. Just make sure that I'm actually who I said I am, right? So when you are, let's say, member of community for a day and 2 days, week, months, 5 months, when you see consistency, when you see confirmations of the news that you hear from my channel time and again and again and again, well, that's when this bit of trust comes, right? That you are realizing, oh, okay, this channel is real. But even then, you should always question, always, everybody, right? Including my freaking self. You should always question and always have doubts. And that's the way to protect ourselves, right? That's how I'm operating. And that's how I recommend everybody to operate in this way. Whenever we are on these platforms that, as you say, are clearly weaponized by Western ruling class, by this evil force. And that's why we should be very careful with who we see as a trustworthy. Because, you know, as you are subscribed to many channels, I am subscribed to many channels, right? Including in alternative media. And I'm quite skeptical about number of channels that position themselves to be part of alternative media, but I see them as an extension of the MSM, incursion of MSM into alternative media, giving their freaking talking points, right? Giving the talking points that they come up with every now and then. So we should be careful, absolutely. And if we are careful enough, then I think we will manage to navigate in this wild field, isn't it? And it is quite wild, this internet, isn't it? So I'm 100% agree with you. There is a way to deal with the situation. It is not necessary to block freaking everything, right? Because, I mean, it's just counterproductive. And also, we were just commenting, if there is one area Russia needs to work on seriously is marketing. I noticed Russia is in general sucks at marketing. Even Stains K says Russian businesses suck at the marketing. The West dominates this, and well, it's hard to argue with you, Wayward. It's impossible to argue with you. Public relations, since the Soviet era, is Achilles' heel for Moscow. And businesses also, not just for ruling class, but also for businesses. I don't know why, but in public relations, in marketing, we suck. That's how it is, man. We are just too freaking bad in this stuff, right? I don't know why. I honestly don't. But this is just true. We have to learn how to operate, right? How to reach out to people and do it effectively, right? We have to be good in marketing, but sometimes I think Moscow does not even try. It's not just like we are bad in this, but sometimes it feels like Moscow does not even try, does not even cares, and it's upsetting. It's wrong. I think it's just fundamentally wrong. We are on the right side of history, 100%, and somehow we are managing to lose information warfare with the Western ruling class that is hated throughout the world by everybody, almost everybody. I mean, how this can be? But I mean, that's how bad we are in marketing, as you said, in public relations, and this is shameful. But yeah, I mean, but it's true, and we definitely need to do better in this regard. We need to learn better how to reach out to their people. But for now, we are too bad in this, just too bad. Thank you very much, Wayward, for sharing. And there was also a super chat from Scooby. I'm nervous now, dear friends. I'm a bit stressed because I understand in the beginning of live stream I just went crazy because of these connection issues. Right now, news is. Right now, some Telegram channels are reporting that there is another wave of blocks and bans on VPNs and God knows what else. Right now, as we speak, dear friends, this is happening. So that was the reasoning, I guess. This new wave of blogs was the reason why I was struggling with the connection to launch this live stream in time. But yet again, that is a mistake. That is a mistake, intentional or unintentional. That's a topic that counterintelligence have to study and security services have to study. But this is clearly a mistake, 100%. And Scooby is commenting. Thank you very much, Scooby, for another super chat and donation through Rumble. And Scooby is commenting. Fiscal multiplier measures how much total economic output (GDP) increases for each dollar government spends. Russia big on defense, and the tax cuts low multipliers. Oh, you see, thank you for explaining, Scooby. Sometimes when I read some of your comments, I think you are financier or economist, because his language is kind of your language leaves that kind of impression, and maybe that's how it is. Maybe you are financier or economist by education. Thank you for explaining to me this. And also, of course, English is not my first language, so sometimes I just struggle to understand what this word or that word actually means, or maybe even entire sentence. And Russia is big on defense, that's for sure. And when it comes to taxes, maybe surprisingly for some, but we have quite low rate of taxes actually. Recently, there was a little bit of increase in taxes, and Western ruling class, Western propaganda, they went crazy. They start pushing this another false narrative that you see Russia is struggling, they are rising taxes, Russian economy is collapsing. And I was thinking to myself, for God's sake, man, we have lower taxes than any Western country whatsoever, right? At least among those leading Western economies. And you are talking about rise of taxes in Russia? What the hell? What the hell is going on, man? You cannot live in California, by the way. I mean, if I was U.S. citizen, I would never ever even consider to live in California, because giving the information that is coming out from the region, government takes almost everything that you make, like almost everything, right? So 50%, you might end up paying 50+% in taxes alone. It's insane, right? New York does the same stuff. All these quasi socialist states, by the way, they do some crazy nonsense there, right? While Russia is a socialist, has a socialist, social, let's say, not socialist, but Russia has a social element clearly in as a state. Russia is a social state, right? And the taxes are quite low. Me, as a self-employed, by the way, I pay taxes from all the income that I might have, about 5%. It done automatically, by the way. So it's on a it's done on internet, right? I'm registered, and I'm highlighting the income, and the platform of tax institution takes the money automatically. Сколько я плачу налогов как самозанятый? 4 даже. You see, 4% actually. Me, as a self-employee, pay not even 5, 4%. Yeah, that's until I will have an income around, I don't know, 300,000 or something. I mean, goodness me, man, if that day comes when I will have a 300,000 income, I will happily pay taxes, even if it's double or triple, by the way, right? Unfortunately, I'm nowhere close to that point. So you see, when I was working in a business, before I start full time working on this project, I was paying 14%. That was the income tax, right? When I was working on one of the quite big companies, by the way, here in Russia, I was paying 14%. Ань, сколько я платил, когда зарплату там получал, блин? 13? 13%, by the way. И оно 13 опять? Или повысили? 13? Да, я платил по 13% зарплаты, правильно? Или 14? 13. Ладно. So it was a 13%, by the way. When I was working for a company, I was paying 13% of taxes, of my wage, which is quite low, isn't it? There's very few countries in this world where you pay this low. So yes, we have quite low taxes, and that's true. And also, yeah, on defense, we are quite big. We have to be big now because of this war that Western ruling class is waging against Russia. But hopefully, this war will end soon, and we will go back to normal ways of development without spending too much on anything. So thank you for explaining, Scooby. Thank you very much. And well, I guess this is it, dear friends. Let me apologize before I go, dear friends. Let me apologize for excessive emotions throughout the stream, especially in the beginning of the stream, due to these issues with the connections. Of course, I lost my cool at some point. But hopefully, new segment itself was interesting for you, and community chat after the news segment. Also, many thanks to all of you. Many thanks to members of community that supported throughout the stream. Nidish is commenting. Levan, do you see my question? No, I did not. Nidish, I will scroll now. What was the question? Oh, wait. I see your comments. You are engaged in a conversation with the chat, but I don't see no questions, Scooby. Sorry, Nidish. So, what was the question though? You know, I will react tomorrow. If you drop the question again, Scooby, I scrolled through chat and I didn't really notice no question. Oh, is this one? Did you the amount of meths they recovered in Nigeria? The one? Did you the amount of I don't. Is this a question, Idish? I did not read nothing about Nigeria today. Literally nothing. So I don't know what they recovered there. There was a smuggling of methamphetamines in Nigeria of some record levels or something. I don't know in Yiddish. I have not read about Nigeria anything today. Anyways, dear friends, sir. Anyways, thank you very much for your attention. Many thanks to members of our community that are supporting my work and this project throughout the years. And today, um, a wonderful day, everybody. And once again, my apologies for losing my cool at some points throughout the stream, sir. Well, I myself agree that sometimes I'm going too emotional, but you know things happen. I try my best to keep my cool and during the programs. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.